to another episode of HomeTech.fm. Jason Griffin here. So happy to be with you. And in what has not really been a pattern for us here lately, I'm actually joined by Seth. You guys get both of us this week.
Hey, man.
How's it going, Seth?
It's been a while, huh?
Yeah. It's time to kind of dust the cobwebs off here and see if we can get back in a rhythm.
I kind of forgot how to do this.
Yeah, it's been a crazy time. I'm excited to say that things are kind of stabilizing a little bit here, and just happy to be sitting down and recording with you.
Yeah, definitely. You've been, holy cow. Let's see. Last we spoke, I think you were in LA, and all of a sudden you moved to Denver, which was you were planning on it.
We did one show since I've been here.
You came back from like a show, and then you went on vacation, like you were gone, and then you came back again, did a show, and then took off to the CEPro Summit.
Yes,
so you've been on the road like constantly. I
have, yeah. It was kind of crazy. We've talked about it quite a bit, so we won't spend too much time on that. But yeah, I do want to talk about the summit, which the CEPro Summit. Just got back from that actually as we sit here and record. I've been back for about 24 hours. It was a 3-day conference out in the Washington, D.C. area, and had a lot of fun. Although I know that a good friend of the show, Richard Gunther, who hosts the Home On podcast, is listening and probably shaking his head because he knows it actually wasn't in D.C. And we were kind of joking about that because Richard actually came down. Richard lives in the D.C. area. And, it's one of those things, you call it D.C., all the literature said it was in D.C. I was actually about 30 minutes south at a beautiful resort called the Gaylord Resort. And, like I said, Richard lives in the area, and he was kind enough to battle Washington, D.C. traffic to come down and join me for dinner and a couple of drinks. So it was really great to see him. Yeah,
the D.C. area is just kind of one of those massive expanses of, you have DC where the government is, and then it kind of goes out from there in a giant metroplex type thing, and then you have all the suburbs that are basically around it that feed all into it. So yeah, I totally understand wanting.
It's like that in a lot of cities too.
Yeah.
You call it Denver, but it's really Littleton or Castle Rock or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, that happens everywhere. But in any event, it was a lot of fun. It's a unique event. It was actually my first time going out there and attending it, so I really enjoyed the opportunity to go out there and be a part of it.
So what are they? Just because I haven't actually been to one of the CEPro Summits, but what it looked like a little small CEDIA type show. Like they had some things on display, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and they had looks like round tables and sessions, right?
Yeah. So the short, kind of the quick version is it's put together by a company called AE Ventures. They're a publishing company. They do like Tech Home Builder, and there is sort of a loose association, at least between AE Ventures and some of the players there, and some of the big people over at CEPro, as well as Commercial Integrator, which is kind of the sister publication of CEPro that focuses on the commercial integration side. And essentially, it's a summit. It's a 3-day conference where they bring together some of the top integrators in the country, and so it's much smaller than CEDIA. I actually don't know even the rough attendance numbers, but it's a small fraction of what a show like CEDIA would be.
Right.
It's like CEPro top 100 companies. And the idea is just to come together and share business practices and kind of trade war stories and get ideas from one another. And it's a unique event, especially in that, you got a lot of the top guys there. So you really, you have the potential to get a lot of value and a lot of really good ideas out of it. But also it's all free for the integrators. It's paid for by a bunch of sponsors, and these sponsors are, of course, the manufacturers and buying groups and different vendors of our industry. And that kind of gives the event a little bit of a unique feel. You are, because you've got a free ticket there, you are obligated to attend all of the meetings, and a lot of that stuff is scheduled for you for obvious reasons. These manufacturers are interested in getting in front of these integrators. These are the biggest players in the home technology business, and they want to get in front of us and let us know about their products and their services, and And so that's kind of the deal there. You get to go out and you end up getting a lot of meetings. They definitely run you ragged. It's kind of, you start at 8 in the morning and you're going until about 6:30 or 7. But then, that's when the social hours start. And of course you get out and have a little bit of fun as well. And all in all, a great experience. I think for me, the biggest value that I got out of it was from the peer-to-peer stuff, and some of the roundtable sessions I thought were really interesting.
Any major takeaways for like other integrators in the audience? Like what do you see? What are these guys saying are trends or things to be looking at?
Yeah, definitely. So I think that really, as it pertains to our audience, obviously we've got a mix of industry professionals, integrators, as well as end users and enthusiasts. And I think some of the takeaways for me apply to both of those large groups. And really, there was a ton of talk about, of course, the Internet of Things and kind of its impact on the business. And, this is all stuff that we've talked about quite a bit on the show, and we won't go into all the details here, but that was, of course, one of the big points of conversation is how do we as integrators capitalize on all of this increased intelligence being put into everyday objects around us. And that, of course, came up over and over again. And then kind of tying into that theme also is this idea of the importance for integrators to incorporate recurring revenue into their businesses. So this can come in a number of ways, like doing monitored security is one example that a lot of people will understand because it's so common. But one of the other things that is a little bit more of a novel concept that I'm a believer that the industry really needs to push for is like recurring service contracts and maintenance contracts with our clients to kind of provide them a higher level of service than we're able to now. Because, if we're able to implement these contracts, we'll have more resources in order to do that. So that was definitely one of the big themes that I was watching out there.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, there, even around town here, there are a lot of guys who will go in and wire a house for security and put in a panel system and never follow up on that system at all. So it's a huge source of revenue. And actually, for integrators, I mean, that's what banks actually look at to price out your company. That's where you're going to get financing if you have a real contract and reoccurring revenue off of security and clientele. I'm not too sure about the other ones, but yeah. Well,
it's funny. There was actually a panel with a couple of gentlemen and a couple of moderators, and their names I don't remember. The moderators were Jason Knott from CEPro and Tom LeBlanc from Commercial Integrator. But one of the panel members was actually he was a finance guy, and he was that was the whole. The whole purpose of this panel was to talk about company valuations in our industry and how if you want to get financing or if you want to exit your company, how do you do that? How do you add these sort of valuable items to your portfolio that'll kind of enhance the value of your company? And that was one thing. RMR, recurring monthly revenue, came up over and over again, and that was one of the points you made. And actually, one of the follow-up points to that conversation was that as we try to implement these service contracts and maintenance contracts, that's one of the things that's going to have to shake itself out is, how those are valued.
Right. Because there are very specific numbers that banks will value a security contract at, because it's one of those known things that it's not hard to figure out. It's set in stone. There's a standard way it's done, and it's like a mortgage on a house. Everybody knows how to do that. Everybody knows how to use a security contract, I guess. And
it's easy to scale, right? Like I can go out and add a dozen new security contracts to my book of business, and it doesn't drastically increase my need for labor to support that on an ongoing basis. Not the way that a service contract on a smart home or home automation system would.
Oh, good point. Yeah, that sounds like a really good. It sounds like a really good conference. I wish I had gone now.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like I said, they definitely, they get their money's worth out of you, so to speak. They keep you going, keep you moving. But I really enjoyed it.
Very cool. Well, one of the things I saw that came out of this particular conference were, and I don't know if you saw it, there was evidently Just Add Power was part of, I guess, one of the vendors that was displaying, a little small setup there. Mm-hmm. And they were showing off their new, what they call their 3G product, which is their third generation product, which is a 4K video distribution system over IP. Did you get a chance to take a look at that, or?
I did not actually. I would have loved to, and I probably could have, to be honest. But basically, what happens at this conference is they kind of set your meetings for you. The vendors kind of look at the guest list and sort of pick hey, I really want to talk to Harrison Home Systems, and so when you get there or beforehand, you're handed a schedule of these are your one-on-one meetings.
Gotcha.
So a lot of that is kind of dictated for you. I mean, they do purposely leave some openings there where you're able to kind of go explore, but I did not make it to the Just Add Power booth this year.
Cool. Well, if you've done, I think you said you've done a Just Add Power system or two, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can only really speak to it anecdotally, because the one time that we were getting ready to implement it, it was right on the tail end of when I was leaving Los Angeles, and it was for a specific, last minute request by a client in a very large home where we were very short on wire. Because there had already been a lot of changes, and he all of a sudden wanted to distribute camera signals around the home. Well, we didn't have video distribution in the scope, nor did we have the cameras. They were done by another trade. So we ended up looking at Just Add Power to just take that HDMI signal out of the DVR and put it into packets and get it up on the network. And we were in the process of engineering that solution right as I was leaving, and I've since exchanged some emails with a good friend of mine who's still there and actually took the job over, and he said it worked flawlessly. So
cool. Yeah, that's been my experience. The Just Add Power system is how it works is there's a little box that encodes video, and there's another little box that decodes video, and you put them on a network, and those little boxes talk to each other, and you can put, just like you said, over the network, you can push that video of the camera system in your situation, or you can use a Blu-ray player or, a cable box. And as long as you put those sources on the network, they're accessible from any other TV that has one of those little boxes connected to it on the network. Yep. So, and that goes from a 2x2 system all the way up to, I'm reading their press release, 4,000 input devices to 65,000 TVs, which is really funny.
It's insane that they even put those numbers on there, but that is, for anybody listening who might not be really technical and may not understand what makes this different or unique or powerful, that speaks to it. It's a very, very flexible architecture, very scalable. So it's designed for one example, if you were to go to a large stadium where they might have, who knows, 200-300 displays spread out throughout the stadium that they want to be able to push signals to, this is the type of solution that a designer in that sort of space might look at.
Oh, definitely. And I asked Ed, the owner, once. He's a local guy here in Florida. I asked him once at a show. I said, "What if I need to do more than 65,000 TVs?" And he grinned and he smiled at me. He said, "We can talk about that when you sell a job that has 65,000 TVs." So, yeah.
I'm sure they would figure something out for you.
Yeah. They're a very inventive company. And I think this new product really is really one of those inventive things. So you spoke to flexibility there. This new product covers the 4K line. And all of these things that we've been talking about in regards to 4K and video distribution, where you and I have been throwing up red flags for the last couple months, talking about HDCP 2.2 and how are we going to have particular sources or TVs on a 4K network, essentially, that don't support HDCP 2.2, that can kind of reduce the performance, actually, of the devices that do have HDCP 2.2. So all of these things were going to be a headache, and Just Add Power came along and just knocked all those things down. This product knocks all those out of the park. You don't even have to worry about them anymore. So it performs, Ultra HD resolutions up to 2160p. It does instant instant seamless switching between any resolution. So you can encode anything like 480, 576, 720, 1080p, 2180. All those get sourced. And when you switch the video, it doesn't it's kind of an old feature they had, but it won't, you won't see the little thing that says HDMI 1, time is time.
Yeah,
not
it just
set.
makes it a little prettier. It sounds like a small thing, but it is nice. Actually.
It's huge for clients because if you don't have that switch set up right, or something happens, power outage or whatever, it takes like 8 seconds for that thing HDMI to sync back up. So a client could turn on their system and think that it's broken for 10 seconds, 15 seconds sometimes before everything really kicks in. So I think that's
oftentimes that 8 or 10 seconds is just long enough for them to pick up the phone and call me.
Yeah, it's exactly long enough, in fact. But I think the biggest feature on this thing is that you don't have to use all 3G product on the system. So you can mix and match, and it's completely backwards compatible with their 2G Plus and 2G products. So if you have some 1080p TVs on the network that they're not 4K, they're small, there's no need for a 4K encoder, you could use a lower cost decoder for those TVs. And if you have like a Blu-ray player that's not 4K, you could use a lower cost encoder. But then you have a TV that is 4K and you have a couple of 4K sources. You just have to get those encoders and decoders matched up on those TVs, and those sources will be full 4K with the HDCP 2.2. Does all of the fancy Dolby, what do they call it? Like the Atmos decoding, all that stuff's on there too. So this is like super flexible, and if you're an integrator and you haven't messed with the system, you really need to get your hands on it, because this thing is great now. Yeah,
it sounds really interesting. I like I said, I didn't go check their booth out. Now I kind of wish I would have, but it's an interesting company, and maybe we can look at reaching out and having somebody on from that company one of these days to kind of chat about that and their unique architecture and all these challenges around 4K and UHD. I mean, that's obviously a huge topic, and that's not going to change anytime soon.
Yeah, they have the booth, a picture of the booth that we'll put this in the show notes, a link to this on their Facebook page. They have 4 TVs set up. Actually, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 TVs on this thing. All of them are on the same network. All of them are using their product, and you can switch back and forth between all this stuff on there. It's really cool.
Yeah,
a really cool
very
system.
Cool. Very nice. Well, we've got quite a bit more ground to cover here. We definitely want to get to mentioning the Google announcement. There was a big Google announcement that we'll touch on here in just a second. Before we jump into that, just very quickly, want to send a quick congratulations. We've had the guys from Ring on way back. Gosh, I don't know. Could have been even close to a year ago by now. But Ring is a company, if you don't know, that does a smart doorbell, and I think this is a big story in terms of just the continuing momentum in these sort of do-it-yourself smart home products. They just received a large round of investment, $28 million, in fact, so quite a bit of money. And kind of what made a lot of headlines, of course, and even though he wasn't the exclusive investor in this deal, Richard Branson was actually one of the main players in this deal. So that, of course, is going to grab headlines when that happens. But to me, I think the bigger story is again kind of the continuing momentum in the smart home, the do-it-yourself smart home, and we've seen now Ring just recently get a deal with Best Buy for distribution, and now a very large investment. So I think they're doing something right.
Yeah, what I thought was interesting was that this story said something about the investors buying into the 4-year-old startup's goal of reducing crime. So It sounds like they were pitching it as like a security system, which is kind of odd for a doorbell, right? Yeah, I think that is a push for them. I know that right before I moved out of Los Angeles, I was part of an Internet of Things meetup group, and we had an event at Ring Labs. They're in Santa Monica there, and I know that was one of the themes that we heard when Jamie got up and spoke, and that's kind of a thing that they're, I think, culturally trying to instill in their company, was the impression I got.
that this isn't just a toy gadget, that it's actually a device that can help lower crime. And, you can debate the merits of that. I think there's, some people would say, oh yeah, totally. And others might say that's just a marketing pitch. One way or another, it sounds like this venture capital is sort of buying into that idea. And so you can kind of take that for what it's worth.
Yeah. And it is a great product. I've had some pretty good luck using them for a couple clients. And it's one of those things. It looks good. I'd like to put one on my house too. I don't know if security would be my first thought, but maybe the 28 million is going to go into, more products that could be associated with security, right? So maybe they're developing products. I kind of like to see that API that they've been promising would be released, but maybe the 28 million is all going to the API, and it's going to be a great API.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Better be.
Yeah. Well, speaking of ringing things,
yeah, you got it.
I'm only half because, we may as well just talk about it. The big announcement from Google this last week was what they're branding on Hub, right? It's a fancy. Well, it's basically an Apple Airport Extreme with less ports, which I didn't think it was possible, but Google did it.
Yeah, there's some interesting aspects to this. I mean, it's being sold as a router. It's a Wi-Fi router, and that's in and of itself not all that exciting. One of the interesting things I didn't realize about this until I kind of was diving in a little bit closer here just recently, 13 antennas they've got packed in this thing, which strikes me as an awful lot. I got the impression from what I read that was all like Wi-Fi antennas. Sometimes you hear about different radios, meaning Zigbee or whatever. So I don't know. I guess they're maybe pitching the idea of a stronger Wi-Fi router to get better coverage. Mike Wolf had an article that we should definitely link in the show notes, which will be at HomeTech.fm/76. And he talks about that angle of it. I think really, though, the big story here is like it does incorporate the Weave protocol. So basically you're talking about Zigbee and Thread potential there. It's kind of under the hood. And really, I think that, the idea, if I had to guess for Google, is that this, putting out another smart home hub is not advisable. We've got 1 million of them out there already. They're just not, the market's crowded. Google's not really interested. But by putting out a router, which is something that, an end user or homeowner needs anyways, right? Like I need to have a Wi-Fi router. Nobody doesn't have Wi-Fi anymore for, by and large. And so putting this functionality into a device that people are going to buy anyways and get value out of, regardless of the potential to do, smart home control, be it through Zigbee or Thread or what have you. It's sort of like a Trojan horse, right? It gets the device into the house, and then later through firmware updates or what have you, you could potentially unlock some of these other features.
Yeah, and I've got to kind of question that. Like, does it get the device into the house? Because there's a couple of other tech specs I want to cover, but I mean, that just kind of point that you made there. Like, could be a Trojan horse, but I mean, Google really doesn't have any real retail presence outside of, being online. I mean, it looks like they're selling this on Amazon, Newegg, Fry's.com, and Walmart, which, those are pretty big stores, but maybe it's an online thing. And how much was this thing? It was like $200, $300, $200, $199.
Yeah, I think it was $200.
Yeah, so I mean that's a very premium thing for something that most people already get from their ISP. Now I'm not taking anything away. It looks like a really cool access point. Like it does look like basically an Apple Airport Extreme killer, maybe. It only has one LAN port and one WAN port, so I guess you can use this as a router if you need to. One thing that I haven't seen too many people mention, it does have a speaker on it. So there's a 3-watt speaker.
Interesting.
Yeah. And the processor in this thing is a 1.4 gigahertz dual core processor.
Wow.
4 gigs of flash memory, and then 1 gig DDR3, and 8 meg some other flash RAM that they have in there. But this thing has a lot of space inside of it to do a lot more later on. I mean, it's kind of this looks like basically they took the Amazon Echo, beefed it up. I don't know if it has microphones or anything in it, but holy cow, that would cause a stir if there were any microphones in this.
Oh yeah,
with Google, right? But it would be a cool device, and it looks like it really has a killer. It's a killer access point, is what it is, for certain people. But I just don't know if this is going to be in every single home at that price point. That's really expensive. Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I guess are we debating here the viability of like, will the market adopt it, or are we debating like Google's intentions? I guess is what.
No. Okay, so I guess Mike Wolf had this same debate, and I think it's written in his article a little bit that this particular product is kind of one of those, like a Nexus product. Like, this is what Google says, this is what a flagship device should look like. But Mike is theorizing that this could be dumbed down to a $50 device later on. I think at that point it would be smart, right? That would be a good price point. But I just don't see this taking over very much of the world at that particular price point for what it does today, right? Because it isn't a home. It's not a hub right today. It looks like a hub. It quacks like a hub and walks like a hub, but it's not a hub. So
it's one of these things with Google, like, you know, if Apple, you know, obviously they've got the airport line, but like, let's pretend they didn't for a second, and then they came out with this sort of a device today. I wouldn't necessarily jump to the conclusion that it was a broader play for something different other than just, you know, selling some boxes, moving some hardware, because, you know, that's what Apple does, really. And the thing is, that's really not what Google does. And so when I look at a product like this, you know, Google does have some hardware out there. You mentioned the Nexus and that sort of thing. But when I look
Nest
at it
too, they own Nest, right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess you're right. I didn't think about that because, you know, I guess I still think of them as sort of separate divisions. Like, this isn't the Nest on hub. You know, it's the Google on hub. So I don't know. Right. You make a good point there. But anyways, I guess my point is that anytime I see Google do anything, I'm like, what are they up to? You know, right. What's the real play?
And what you said there is really even more strange to me. This isn't the Nest on hub. No, it's the Google on hub, which tells me that this isn't even the same people talking at Google.
Yeah.
This is a completely, and it's a huge company. They just split it up and they're calling it Alphabet now.
Alphabet, yeah.
Yeah, and there's all these divisions and the ones that are doing like the pipe dream type things like this, those are different little divisions. And then there's Google proper that does advertising and search and that kind of thing. In Android. But you know, I don't really understand why this wouldn't be part of the Nest properties, right? Like, if Nest had this for sale and it was sold as a Nest hub, you know, like, I think it would do a little bit better. Like, that brand, I don't know where the on branding comes from, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I didn't even really think about that, but just from a purely like retail, you know, perspective, that might be a better branding. But, you know, who knows? Like you said, it's just a massive company that oftentimes the right hand doesn't even know what the left is doing, or seemingly, at least, you know, from the outside looking in. Who knows? A lot of interesting facets to this story, and definitely, you know, curious to see kind of how this thing does when it comes to market, and B, like, what's the long-term play here? Is it just about selling routers? I just have a hard time believing that.
Yeah, no, I mean, and this, Mike was saying he heard from his sources that this had the Brillo, it was running on the Brillo thing, which is Google's dumbed down Android thing.
Yeah, and he called that from the start. I mean, not to toot Mike's horn too much, but
he was all over this thing.
He was all over the Brillo story from the start, and really at first when that Brillo story broke, everybody was talking about the Internet of Things. And Mike put out a piece that we mentioned on the show that was like, yeah, I think this is more of a play at the router, the router market. And here we are.
Yeah. So here we are. This looks like a really good router. It's got a very, very fast processor in it for, if there's any company that probably knows a little bit about internet, it's probably Google. They're probably pretty good at networking, I think. I think it's a good product, a good router, a good Wi-Fi device.
Yeah. And you talked about, maybe they're putting it out to show like this is what a flagship product looks like. And maybe the real play here is eventually working some of what they're able to glean from this experience or some of the technical aspects of a product like this. Who knows, purely speculating, but maybe they go pitch some of the big telecom companies who are trying to push their way into the smart home, and maybe there's some sort of convergence there where Google's able to get their technology into the router that you get when you subscribe to Comcast smart home service or something like that. So that that could be one of the things that Google is looking at.
Yep. Well, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. One of the best comments I saw about this was one of integrators was joking and said that it also comes with 6 RU rack ears, which is great. Yeah, I mean it's a nice piece of industrial design, but just like the Apple Airport Extreme that's in the time capsule that's out now, it's this vertical equipment rather than laying flat horizontal, and you end up with just so much wasted space if you try to put it into a rack to do actual networking.
I don't think Google's too worried about us lowly systems integrators.
Yeah, notice that all the pictures don't have cables either. Look at that. It looks really good without cables, but
it sure
guys,
does.
You're going to have cables, especially with only one LAN port on that. You're going to have a nice switch on the backside too.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly.
That's what us integrators think about, and evidently we're dying breed.
Yeah, we want to touch on a couple of articles actually. That are just kind of speaking to sort of the future of the industry, at least as the author sees it. And I agree with a lot of his points. These are 2 articles. I think there's actually 3 now this gentleman has written for CEPro that all kind of just tie into this theme of how the industry and we as systems integrators really need to evolve and kind of take a good hard look at our business practices. And I was just before we started recording tonight, I just have to tell a quick funny story. I was reading these articles and it called to mind one of the conversations I had out at the CEPro Summit. And I had been sitting at one of the roundtable sessions with 8 or 9 other systems integrators, and this gentleman was talking about his business model and how it's long story short, very much service focus. Fixed price monthly service contracts. That's what he does with every one of his clients. Right. And I was reading these articles, and I was thinking it was calling to mind that conversation. And when I got done reading these articles, I Googled the author's name, checked him out on LinkedIn. Guess what? Same guy.
And I had world.
No idea when I was reading him. So his name is Joseph Kolchinsky. And like I said, I was at a roundtable with him, but I didn't get a chance to get his card or catch his name or anything, so didn't make the connection until afterwards. But actually, really enjoyed the articles. Sent him an email to see if perhaps we can get him on the show to take the discussion a little bit further.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of what he's saying in these articles, I've been beating that drum for years. Thinking that. Well, I came from 2 industries that have gone down what looks like this AV industry, the path that this AV industry is going down. I went through the IT, boom and bust of, in the late 80s, early 90s, just playing with computers as a kid and being able to put them together and smart enough to get the hardware to work. And I actually had a little small computer business where I'd make computers for people, and as I was doing that, I noticed that I was getting computer boards in that were color coded, and all of a sudden the plugs, you could only plug things in one particular way, and they was
you couldn't
becoming
do it wrong.
Yeah. And so I started going, it's going to be in 5-10 years, the skill level to plug this stuff together is going to be, next to nothing. You hire somebody out of high school to do this. And it's exactly what's happened. Like now you don't even put computers together. I mean, you pretty much just buy an Apple and it works, right?
Yep.
You don't even open them. They don't even put screws on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can see what's happened there. In that industry, the second one was what I went to school for, which was recording. We were sitting in $1 million studios going, oh, this is great. Learning on equipment that cost at the most at the time, probably $20,000-$30,000. And I'm thinking you could build a garage studio for $20,000 or $30,000 and have a flagship studio. And sure enough, that's as we've seen, that's what's happened to the music industry. This cost in the big giant studios have just gone way down. Yeah,
and it's like all the integrators in the audience, like raise your hand if you studied recording, right? Or looked at the recording industry someday, and I did too. There's a ton of us in the industry. It's funny.
Yeah, I mean, so you sit there and you take a step back and say, okay, let's look at what happened to IT. All the people like me, I was a kid, but all the people like me that were just doing the basic grunt work, we left the industry. But there are people that stayed around that did corporate stuff, that did big jobs. There's huge regional players, and then there's the big guys like IBM and the huge people that are doing massive both hardware and data integrations. So that could happen to this industry as well. I mean, you think about it and take a step back and look at your market. There's a ton of what you and I would probably refer to as lovingly as trunk slammers, right? Yeah. Which are guys who are typically unlicensed in a white van that basically work out of their truck and hang TVs all day long.
Or sadly, to your point, some of these guys who are doing the worst work are maybe quote unquote licensed, right?
Right. You have the next guys up that are licensed integrators, and yeah, some of the worst work I've seen that is like not to code, and it's been from the licensed guys who they've got all the documents saying they should be in business, but maybe they shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you've got the major players in the area, maybe like companies like AVI SPL, the guys who are doing big commercial installs and that kind of stuff. Those types of companies that are in the area or in the bigger market cities that come in and do boardrooms and massive projects. I can totally see that fleshing out in our industry as well. And I think we'll sort of see as soon as the DIY product comes in, where DIY computers. Well, you buy an iPad, you're done. DIY home automation could be that you buy a Ring doorbell and a Google what is it called, OnHub, or an Apple HomeKit compatible thing, and you're done. And the DIY stuff and the trunk slammer stuff goes away, and you're left with the mid and higher end AV companies that can really service and put together still put together a bespoke system of some type.
Yeah, but the key word there, I think that you said is still service. These systems, because that's going to be, I do believe that there's always going to be a market for the mid, that higher end of the middle, and then that ultra high end stuff where, like you said, it's completely custom. The integrators going in and they're making a good amount of money on the equipment, and they can go in with what would really be called a traditional business model, the way most of us are doing business now. And I think that to the author's point, to Joseph's point here, it's one of the points he makes among some others is that we really need to look at service. And this is something that the IT industry, it's been done before. We have examples. There are companies that we can look at in the IT industry. There are so many parallels about the solutions that are obviously not exactly the same, but there's a ton of parallels there that we could really take a good hard look at that industry and learn a lot of valuable lessons about the way that they're, SLAs, service level agreements, how are they structuring those? How are they pricing them? What kind of systems are they using to track the level of service that they're providing against those SLAs? Because that's a big part of it. If you sell a customer a service level agreement for whatever, a couple $100 a month, whatever it is, you better be able to go back with hard data and show that client that, what you've done to meet that, because eventually the bill is going to come due again. And every time, they're probably, well, I shouldn't say every time, but there's a good share of those customers who are going to, every time that bill comes due, they're going to question, like, am I getting my money's worth? And we have to have systems in place to be able to demonstrate that. And that's just one facet of the conversation, of course, but really the broader theme is that as things standardize, like you talked about with, putting together computers, and the manufacturers got smart and made it a lot easier. And then all of a sudden you didn't need such a talented guy to put a computer together. That is happening in our industry. We have to be honest with ourselves about that. And I think that the push for service contracts and recurring monthly revenue is not just important to our industry, but in my opinion, it's absolutely critical.
Yeah, I am definitely agreeing with that. I'm starting to implement it in my company and my sales as well. Just because it's something our customers are asking for, right? And I know that our industry is not providing it, and I think either by our, ignorance or arrogance. I'm not sure which is playing the role. We've been hanging TVs.
There's some of each in the industry, Yeah.
So a lot of guys just want to go hang a TV and walk away from the job, and that's not really what we're in business for. That's day labor, and if you want to be a company, if you want to have a company and be a service company, you have to be thinking about these types of things, because there will come a day where there's no one that you don't need to hang a TV. There's very little skill set that's in it now, right? I mean, getting the wires up and down the wall may be kind of tricky, but there will be a day where we're streaming over using our nice Google On Hub, super fast Wi-Fi, and it actually works. That will come, and the people are just hanging the TV on the wall and plugging it into the power, and they're done. So be thinking, technology is getting better and faster for us as integrators, but it's getting a lot better for the consumers, and it's getting faster and easier for the consumers at the same time.
Well, yeah, and you say that there will come a day when that will work, right? And you're talking about one specific example, but just in general. And what I would say to that is, there will come a day that product will work until it doesn't, until it fails, until it hiccups, and it will hiccup because technology does. There's no getting around that, and that's why I think that there's a business model there, because
they have to call somebody. They got to
call somebody. Somebody's got to come figure this out, and it may be something as stupid and as simple as rebooting the router. But guess what? There are a lot of clients who just want to be able to pick up the phone and know that it's going to get handled.
Yeah, you got to reboot your TV
infrastructure. Yeah, exactly. And if you have the infrastructure in place, and that's one of the things that I'm really looking forward to investigating further. That's going to be one of my core focuses at CEDIA this year is looking at technologies that enable those sort of services to happen without rolling a truck. We've got a lot of those out there already. It's not novel or new. With remotely rebootable outlets on power conditioners and products like IHEG to monitor remotely the health of your system. These things are out there, but also I think there's room for improvement in our industry with stuff like I alluded to earlier, kind of the back end tracking of that, the software that allows us to implement, maybe even help market, sell these solutions, demonstrate the value. And I think that's really one of the things I'm excited to see if somebody out there can really figure out this year or sometime soon.
Yeah, that has been a huge struggle at our company for the last, I would say last year at this point. We have been implementing software to help with the main thing that we have an issue with in our company is communication, but also storing customer records and customer information. So if somebody does communicate with a customer, where does that get stored? And rolling out a CRM which is, what that is, a customer relationship management or something like that is what it stands for. That is not an easy task for a guy who, his day job is hanging TVs. So yeah, I would love to see somebody actually implement something that works well in the AV industry, or works well for the AV industry. The biggest problem I have with what our industry has now are you tend to see like products that are developed for it that I would classify as you put your data in, but you never can get it back out. And I can point to a very prominent project management software suite that most every integration house has used or has been looked into at one point in time. And you put your data into that thing, and it's in there forever. You're not getting it back out. And
it's a black hole.
It's a black hole, and that's wrong. I mean, we live in the world of the web, and we have lived in the world of the web for years now. So, RESTful APIs. I mean, we've even developed programs in-house to integrate different products that we use for, one for quoting, one for communication, which is actually listed on one of his articles here. We use Slack, which is a great chat app. And then we have a CRM, which we're using in Sightly, which has an API that we reach out to. So we've implemented things to, at certain points in projects, we've implemented things to actually communicate out. Another one is Trello, which I know you're pretty familiar with now. So we use that one for keeping up and project management, that kind of thing. So, it sucks that everything is like in 4 different programs, but you got to get your company communicating and running somehow. It has to run on something besides, oh, did I remember to put that on the calendar? And the guy called me now. Here's the first fire in today that I get to go put out. What's going to be the fire this afternoon or tomorrow? Because that's just not a healthy way to run a business.
Yeah, and I think that like you said, with APIs and everything, that's hopefully going to start getting better. I know a lot of integrators, when this conversation comes up, typically they'll say, well, we just want that one end-to-end solution that does everything. And while I totally understand why integrators say that, I don't think necessarily that's actually what they really want. Because I think a lot of times if somebody were to come up with a solution like that, you'd probably have to change your whole business process to kind of match this one piece of software, when really, your business process shouldn't match your software. Your software should match your process. And I think that with the way things are trending right now, I think some of these more end-to-end solutions that are catered more for the IT industry or things like that, those might make sense if you're a very large company like a VIA or, one of these really big players in the residential space. But I think for most of us, the 5 to 20 employee companies, it probably makes more sense to just look at a few key pieces that do the things that you need and allow some sort of integration through an API, so you don't necessarily feel like your data's completely siloed. That's kind of the way to go now. But how this all kind of ties in to the smart home is just that level of service, right? The more efficient we are as integrators, the better we're able to take care of our clients and the more clients we're able to take on. And I think end users and consumers benefit from this conversation as well, because like I said, if we have these SLAs in place, we can demonstrate the value, we can bring in more resources in order to support our clients in a faster, more responsive way. And so I think it's really a win-win, and it's just something that we as an industry have got to figure out.
Yep, absolutely. It's a big issue. It's certainly tough to handle. We don't have our head wrapped around it completely at all. I'm not going to pretend that we do, but what we do have in place is starting to work well. And finally, after two years of attempting things and 1 year
through it.
1 year of really just pushing through and just saying, okay, head down, we've got to deal with this one product. Let's just put it all together. So yeah.
All right, Seth. Well, I think we can wrap it up here. I enjoyed the conversation. It's a great topic, and like I said, maybe we'll get Joseph's attention with this conversation here, and we'd love to maybe have him on sometime to continue the conversation. I think it's a really, really important one, and also, of course, we'll be keeping an eye on some of those other stories that we talked about, like the Google one, and we'll be curious to see where those go.
Yeah, it's always good to talk shop a little bit from time to time, and I think this is a good conversation to have. And those 3 stories that will definitely be in our show notes. I think they're good stories. Even if you are just an end user, I'd go take a look at them, because you'll see what some of the funny things that we have to put up with as integrators. There was that one there about the code. Can it's
who owns the code?
Oh my gosh, that's been like a debate for years, as long as I can remember. Integrators will come in, they'll sell a entire home automation system for, let's just say, it's a $100,000 job. They'll have a custom program installed on there to run the whole thing, and 5 years later the homeowner needs some updates and doesn't want to hire that integrator back, and now where do they get the code from?
Held hostage.
It's held hostage, and it's proprietary code. That's the kind of stuff that we are running into as integrators in this industry, believe it or not. And that, I don't think most people or most end users realize those kinds of shenanigans have been really industry standard for a long time. I mean, decades.
Yeah, I think even if you're an end user, it's good to understand some of the inside baseball. Maybe someday you'll need to hire an integrator, and you'll have a better kind of understanding of what's going to make that integrator tick, and how you can kind of both come to a good deal that's going to be a good and sustainable relationship for both of you.
Exactly. The code needs to be yours. You bought the system. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. So anyways, we'll wrap up here. Before we do want to mention that HomeTech is, again, a proud member of the Technology.fm podcast family that can, of course, be found at Technology.fm. And that's a great kind of curated collection of podcasts there that Mike Wolf, who we mentioned a few times earlier, puts together. And a lot of good shows there. If you're into ours, I'm sure there's at least 1 or 2 others over there that you would get some enjoyment out of.
Definitely. And swing by and leave us a review on iTunes if you like what you hear on the show. If you don't, leave us a review anyway. We like reviews no matter what they are, good or bad, because that's how people find podcasts. They sift through the reviews and they see what's trending and what they want to listen to. So if you'd like to leave us a review, leave us there, or just shoot it to us. Go to our website. There's a feedback form there, link at the top, HomeTech.fm /feedback. And all the show notes and everything that we talked about will be on the website at HomeTech.fm /show/76, right?
76. You got it. One other, yeah, it is. And one other thing I wanted to mention really quickly, actually, this week is had a couple of people, one on Twitter and one I think through email last week, approach me about being on the show, and I won't go into details about who they are just yet. I've been traveling, and so we're not very far into the conversation. But what I wanted to mention to anybody else listening is, we're always interested. If you're listening and you have a product or an integration firm that's maybe doing things a little bit differently, or you're an end user who has a unique system, we'd love to hear from you. We read all those emails, we read all those tweets. Can't guarantee that we'll get you on, but definitely don't hesitate to pitch us. Like, we love hearing from our listeners, and we love kind of some of the inspiration that comes out of those emails and those conversations if we do end up going there with it. So please definitely don't hesitate to stop by our website, HomeTech.fm /feedback, or just tweet at us at HomeTech Podcast. We would love to hear from you.
Absolutely. Those are real fun emails to get. So we get to see, sometimes it's like brand new product that we've never even seen or heard of before. And then, sometimes it's an integrator reaching out, or just an end user reaching out that wants to ask a question. We love the feedback, and we definitely respond. So that's one of the other ways you can support the show.
You got it. All right, Seth. Well, I will let you go, and we'll talk next week.
All right, man. Have a good weekend.
All right, you too.